You're listening to the Dibbly-Dobbly podcast. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell to make sure you get the latest episodes of the podcast. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. Now, let's get into it, Jihan, and let's preview this Ashes series and talk about both Australia and England and how they're going to go about things in this Ashes series. First of all, we'll start with the home side, Jihan. And we'll talk about Australia's Ashes squad. They've announced their squad for the first test match only. So throughout the series, it will change, of course. So the first test squad, just for those who don't know, Smith, Carey, Head, Inglis, Khawaja, Labuschagne, Weatherald, Green, Webster, Boland, Doggett, Hazelwood, Lyon, and Stark. There was meant to be Sean Abbott there, but he's been ruled out with that hamstring injury that he picked up in the Sheffield Shield match for New South Wales. So he's out of the first test squad. So that's pretty much the squad that Australia have announced for this first test match. Obviously, no Pat Cummins. He's coming back from that back injury. The signs look good. He should be on track for Brisbane. And by what he has been saying to the media, he seems very, very optimistic about coming back for the second test. But Steve Smith will be captain in his place for the first test. And it's not a surprise with the selections, as we expected at the head of this Ashes series for Australia. So no surprises to the squad. Obviously, Steve Smith as captain will do a good job in the absence of Pat Cummins. So, Jihan, your initial thoughts from the squad. What are your thoughts from this squad that Australia selected for this series? What are your thoughts in terms of the selectors choosing this squad for this first Ashes test?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much what I expected. The only selection decision that I couldn't understand was Sean Abbott. That he's gone down with a hamstring injury now, so that sort of makes that irrelevant now. But yeah, I think apart from that, you've got Josh Inglis in as the backup wicketkeeper. Marnus Labuschagne is back in scintillating form, so yeah, I mean he needed to come back into the side and into the squad. They're looking for an opener to replace Sam Constas, who failed in the Caribbean, fell quite spectacularly, in fact, and not a lot of the batsmen did too well there, but he in particular really struggled. So it's interesting. A lot of people advocated for him to be picked in the squad regardless. But I think if you're not performing, you can't just get into the squad just because you were in it a few months ago and scored that one-off innings in Melbourne. So I think you have to try and be consistent and earn your spot. Which is something that Jake Weatherald has done for the last couple of seasons. So I think he scored over 700 or 900 runs last year, something like that, average 50. And he's been in good form this year. They do need a specialist opener to replace, as that long-term replacement for David Warner. So, yeah, I think he's done everything that you can to be able to get that spot, and that's basically just bang the door down by scoring hundreds of runs in the Shield, which he did last year, and he's been in good form this year. So, yeah, I think he's deserved that. I think the only person that probably may have been pushing him a little bit was Matt Renshaw, who started off the Shield really well. With 100, but I think, ironically, I think the thing that went against him was he got taken out of the Shield to play in the one-day series, so he had less of an opportunity to show what he could do in the long format because he missed that one Shield game. But he's in form as well, so I think he looked good in the one-day series, and he just recently scored a really good 100 at the Wacker in the Shield. So, if they need another opener or one of the openers fails, then he can definitely slot back in there. Apart from that, Scott Boland, in for he was always going to be in the squad as the extra fast bowler. with Cummins being away. Brendan Dockett, I think he has consistently been good over the last few years. One of probably the most consistent bowler in the Shield, or the most successful bowler in the Shield, has been Fergus O'Neill for Victoria, but I think they feel that he just doesn't have the pace for international cricket. Apparently, they went off on it, Australia A tour in India, and he bowled okay. Didn't take too many wickets, but he was quite economical. I was listening to a podcast, and apparently he said they asked him, like, how was that different, like when you went to India, bowling on those pitches, and he said, yeah, it was quite difficult because basically in Australia in the last few years I just run up and bowl half volleys and get wickets. So when you listen to that, you kind of like, I don't really know if that's going to work in Test cricket, like at your pace, at the pace that he bowls at. So, although having said that, I think that kind of bowler would be useful in on away tours in England. Brendan Dockett, I've seen a little bit of footage of him bowling, and I don't know if you've seen him bowling, but to me, his action reminds me a little bit of Chris Woakes, who is someone I never really rated, but he seems a bit quicker than Chris Woakes anyway, and seems to move the ball. Yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, Cameron Green, if he can bowl 10 overs, 10, 15 overs in a day, he gets into the team for me as a batting all-rounder. And then, yeah, Nathan Lyon, there was a lot of talk about him missing that last Test match, and apparently he made a fuss about him not being selected. I think that was extreme. It was a horses selection. You're playing pink ball Test on a pitch and in a ground with lights that they haven't. It was underprepared for a day-night pink ball Test, if I'm honest, and that proved to be the case. And he took a hat trick, and West Indies got bowled out for 27. So that decision proved to be vindicated. So, but I think I think Nathan Lyon will play all 5 Tests of this summer, because he generally has. I mean, the thing about Lyon is, I know they've played on like more fast bowler friendly pitches in the last few years, but there are times when the pitches get flat, and the pitches don't need to be turning a lot for Nathan Lyon to have an impact. When the pitches get flat, he can do 2 things. He can tie down an end, rest the fast bowlers, but then he can still also attack the stumps and be a wicket taking option. Which even last year he did that in the Melbourne Test when the wicket flattened out. So I think I was thinking to myself, like, is there any Test where he probably may not play? But the only thing I was thinking of was maybe the Brisbane Test, because it's a day-night Test with the pink ball. But even then, I don't know if you remember that Test match against Pakistan a few years ago in Brisbane, day-night. Once the new ball shine, the effect of the new ball went away. It really flattened out, and Pakistan was set 440.
They nearly chased 400 down, Pakistan. Yeah. It wasn't until Mitchell Starc got those wickets and then Australia won.
Yeah. So they set 440 to win. Pakistan got 400, only lost by 40 runs. So it can, it may get flat there in Brisbane as well, which it's known to do. So I think he will play a key role. And the thing is, there's no point in playing 4 fast bowlers if you have a all-rounder in Cameron Green who can bowl 10, 15 overs. So I think there's nothing unexpected in that squad apart from, as I said, the selection of Sean Abbott. For me, actually, I was thinking, I have a bit of a left field selection for that extra fast bowler. I was looking at the Shield scores, and you know who's been bowling really well recently? It's Riley Meredith for Tasmania, and he's got pace. Like, I know he's got pace, and was looking at his stats, and he's not going for a lot of runs either. He's bowling tight and he's getting wickets. And I think against England, who are going to play this, crash bang wallop style of cricket, it's going to be a lot easier for them to do that against medium pacers on a flat pitch. So I think if it gets flat, it's going to be the pace bowlers that worry them. So I thought that Riley Meredith could have been an option, but he didn't play in the last round of the Shield. So, and this is a problem for a lot of the fast bowlers that are coming through the system. Jar Richardson is a perfect example. They just can't seem to stay on the park for too long. And maybe that's a result of too much T20 cricket. I don't know. I mean, I think that's probably contributing. But yeah, I think, all in all, this is it's a solid squad. I suppose now that Sean Abbott's injured, they're going to have to bring someone else in. And I don't know. I'm not sure who that's going to be. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, could be Michael Nessa, maybe.
Yeah.
It could be him that comes in. Could be an obvious replacement for Sean Abbott. But we'll have to wait and see on that. Come when we get a bit closer to that first test. But my thoughts, pretty much standard Australian squad as you would expect. Yep. Obviously, Jake Rutherford being the new guy to open. He's done pretty well in the Shield. Last season, he got 900 runs, was leading run scorer. And last year's Sheffield Shield, 906 runs, averaging 50, 300s, 350s. So he's definitely justified his position in the squad, and also a potential debut with Usman Khawaja to open the batting. But I think Australia are pretty confident with the players that they've selected. Obviously, Marnus back in form at the right time, scoring those 500s in the Australian summer this year. Obviously, 3 in the Shield, 2 in the domestic stuff for the one-day stuff for Queensland. So he's hitting his straps at the right time. Steve Smith scoring 100 and a couple of 50s for New South Wales in those 2 Shield games that he's played. Cameron Green, that Shield match against WA and Queensland, he got 90-odd. So he's starting to get his runs in there with the bat, but also with the ball.
He bowls on overs as well.
Yes, getting those loads up. Bo Webster got a fifer recently, and he hasn't done anything wrong, so it'll be unlucky if he misses out ahead of Green in terms of selection there. And then obviously you got, the bowlers Stark and Lyon and Hazelwood, Scott Boland. We all know what they're going to do. Then you've got Travis Head. He's going to have a big series like he did 4 years ago when the last Ashes series was here in Australia. Carey, so crucial in the middle order there at number 7. And obviously Josh Inglis as well, backup keeper, but also can bat as well. Usman Khawaja is getting on a bit in age, but if he can stick around like he did last summer, and also what he did 2 years ago in England, where he scored, I think he scored over 400 runs in that Ashes series 2 years ago. Usman Khawaja.
Well, I mean, he was the reason that they didn't lose that series.
Yes, he scored 496 runs. He scored 100. He was pivotal in that game at Edgbaston where Australia won by 2 wickets.
He's frustrated England so much that Ollie Robinson just had to...
Even if he's not quite at his best, and obviously you don't get better when you get older as a batter. That's just the way it goes. But, he'll be hoping to stick around and build that foundation at the top of the order. So I think Australia have got all bases covered. And obviously Pat Cummins to come back in when he's ready, probably the second test in Brisbane. It looks promising, and he's pretty convinced about the rehab and what he's doing with that, with his back. So that will be a good addition for Australia. But without Pat Cummins, it's still a pretty good attack anyway. We know what Scott Boland can do. He took 6 for 7 last time 4 years ago. He could do the same again in Melbourne. So they've got all bases covered there, Australia.
Has he got a statue there now?
Well, I think if he does it again, he'll probably have a statue. If he does it again, Scott. bowled superbly in that debut test, and on a pitch that did do a bit. It did move around a bit, had a bit of grass on it, and the Melbourne pitch has been like that over the last few seasons. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Australia better prepare against Bazball. I thought 2 years ago in England, even though they won the first two tests, but then after that it sort of went downhill, didn't quite handle Bazball in the way they would have hoped after those first two tests. I think this time around they're better prepared. They know what to expect. And obviously different conditions, being in Australia where pitches are doing a bit now, whereas in that last series the pitches were quite flat in 2023 and they didn't really do much, didn't they? So I think they're better prepared this time. Also, there's been some debate about Smith and Cummins' captaincy. I know a lot of people have made that point about Smith is a better captain than Pat, and obviously what happened 2 years ago with Pat, especially that test at Old Trafford where things just went badly wrong. People have questioned about, probably it's not a bad thing that Smith is captain rather than Cummins for this first test. But people have talked about that. And their captaincy records are pretty similar in terms of test cricket. Cummins, 37 test matches, 23 wins, 8 losses, 6 draws. Steve Smith, 40 matches, 23 wins, 10 losses and 7 draws. So they're roughly the same in terms of their overall captaincy in test cricket, and pretty much the same in Ashes cricket as well. Both of them with 5 wins each from 9 games for Pat Cummins and 6 games for Smith in terms of captain in an Ashes series. So in terms of the win-loss, they're pretty much the same on the stats there, but people have made that observation there, Jihan. So your thoughts on that about Bazball and how Australia will better handle it 2 years on, and also about Smith and Cummins' captaincy and their approaches towards Bazball as well. So your thoughts on that?
No, I think I have no doubt in my mind that Smith is a better captain than Pat Cummins, tactically at least. And he has captained a few times when Cummins has been available in the last few years. And I did mention this at the time, but I think it's easy to say this in hindsight, but this is one of the problems about making a fast bowler a captain, because injuries are going to happen, and then they're not going to be there all the time. And even the ODI side, he's officially the captain, but he's missed a lot, whether that be resting or recovering from injuries. I think tactically Smith is a much better captain. He's got a lot more experience. He's less defensive than Pat Cummins. I think where they're going to... when you look at what they'll miss with Pat Cummins not playing the first test, it's more... He strengthens the batting, for sure, when he's batting at number 8. Instead of, now you're going to have Mitchell Starc batting at number 8, who's not as consistent with the bat as Pat Cummins. Pat Cummins scores a lot of runs under pressure, which he's proved time and time again. So that's one thing. He's also got this sort of ability to, with the ball, when the wicket's really flat and nothing's happening, the team are getting away from you. He can just sort of the opposition team, getting away from you. He can just put in a spell where he just brings you back into the game with like a 5-4 or 6 with some short balls or with just some hitting length consistently sort of thing. And he's done that a lot over the years. That's particularly when there's nothing in the pitch, nothing's going Australia's way. He did that in the World Test Championship final. I don't even remember that. Australia got bowled out when the ball was swinging around all over the place under the lights in the first innings, and then the sun came out, and South Africa had a chance to get away from them, and then he bowled this incisive spell on day 2, I think, to bring them back into the game, where he took 5 or 6 wickets, and I think they even got a lead. They got a lead, but unfortunately, as luck would have it, when they went out into the bat in the 3rd innings, got dark again and floodlights came on, and that was too much for him to do. Like, he did enough in the first innings to get him back into the game, but it was a struggle after that. But he's a kind of bowler that can, when the wicket's doing nothing, the ball is old, he can get you back into the game with an incisive spell. I think that's what they will miss from him being in the side, because at times, even with their great bowling attack, when the wicket gets flat, they can look a bit toothless at times. If they're good batsmen that get themselves in. I mean, it happened in Perth last year with Kohli and Yashasvi Chai as well. Happened in Sri Lanka a couple of years ago when Chandimal got that double 100. So yeah, I think that's the only thing they'll miss. The captaincy side of things, I think Smith will be better, and the batting lineup will be won't be as strong with Stark coming in at 9. But I mean, hopefully it's only going to be for one Test match, and he will come back into the side next.
Yeah.
In Brisbane and strengthen that. What was your other question?
The approach Australia will take with Bazball. Are they better prepared 2 years on?
Yeah.
From the last series in England, do you think they're going to handle it a lot better than they did 2 years ago in this series?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think when Steve Smith is captain, I don't think he'll be quite as keen to put the field back as Cummins seemed to do from the first day in Edgbaston last year. And I've heard that there was even a little bit of they seem to be disagreeing with each other about that as well at times during that series, where Cummins wanted to do that. Smith was sort of like, "What are you doing? Like, we need this guy up." And Cummins would sort of had to push himself to say, "No, this is what we're doing," kind of thing, and kind of show his authority, the fact that he was captain, and say, "No, we're doing it this way," kind of thing to Smith. But I think, so I think Smith is not going to be as defensive. And also, having said that, it's going to be easier. It's a little bit different when you're playing on a pitch with pace and bounce in Perth compared to a low, slow, flat wicket in the Edgbaston, where Zach Corley can just get on the front foot and hit a length ball for 4 off the front foot. So I think he'll be a little bit less defensive. I think one thing that will be important is to test the England players with the short ball, because they've got quite a few compulsive hookers in the side. I don't know if you remember if you watched that series.
We saw that India 2 years ago at Lords, where they kept getting out with the short ball, didn't they?
Yeah, so at Lords that time, the problem was the pitch was too up and down. It was too inconsistent in pace and bounce. It was kind of slow. It was a bit of a slow pitch, but you couldn't play the hook or the pull shot consistently because the ball kept coming up at different paces and a bit of tennis ball bounce sort of thing. So if you consistently bowled that, it was actually really hard to score. And England's sort of bravado was like, we're just going to keep hooking. And then they can control
it. That's definitely going to test them on these big Australian grounds, Perth, Brisbane, Melbourne, especially. Yep. Not so much in Adelaide and Sydney, but they're still big, but small in comparison to Perth, Brisbane, and Melbourne.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, the pace and bounce is going to be even. It's not going to be up and down. It's not going to be difficult to judge the pace and bounce of the ball. But at the same time, you've got to hit the ball. You've got to see it early and hit it well if you're trying to hit it out of the ground. Now, if you're doing that Optus MCG, you're going to have to get a good piece of it. If you get anywhere, if you top edge it anywhere, away from the middle of the bat, you're going to get caught out because it's just not going to carry that far. It's not like in England where you just a top edge hook just goes flying over the boundary. Or for that matter, anywhere else around the world. So, yeah, I think that's one thing they're definitely going to have to test the England batsmen with, and that's why I thought it would be good to have like an extra pace bowler in the squad, as opposed to a fast medium. But yeah, they're all going to have to. They're going to have to test them all of them out. Ben Duckett, Zach Crawley, Jamie Smith. He's a compulsive hooker.
Harry Brook is.
Harry Brook, yeah. Even Joe Root. I've always thought Joe Root has a little bit of a problem against the short ball. So they're all going to get tested. Yeah. So I think where Australia may struggle is if the pitch gets really flat, nothing's happening for them, and then England decide to tuck in, because that's generally when they've done well, and particularly on the lower, slower wickets. But then that can also happen at Perth and Brisbane as well. If the ball's not really doing much, they can also get stuck in as well. And I think that's, if it gets to that point where England's run rate is getting away from Australia, that's when tactics and how we're going to get them out, keep the scoring tight, that sort of thing comes into it. But I think Smith is better equipped to handle that than Cummins.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people have made those observations about Smith and Cummins. Obviously, two different leaders. I still think Pat's still a good leader when he's in charge. It's, he's won everything, basically. Won the World Cup 2 years ago, won the World Test Championship against India a few years ago. Obviously, didn't quite do that against South Africa this year, but still, he's won quite a few series, obviously retained the Ashes 2 years ago, and obviously the last series in Australia won the Ashes when he became captain for the first time after what happened with Tim Payne at the time, resigning his captaincy and handed it over to Pat before that series. Obviously Australia would have learnt a lot of lessons, especially from Old Trafford in that test match, and how to handle Bazball a bit better. And Smith, obviously, we know what he's like as captain. He's very, very good in terms of the tactics and the tactical side of the game, and he knows what he wants from his plans and his fielders and where he wants to put them. And no doubt he will definitely analyse that as we come closer to this first test and work out a plan. But I'm sure Australia will handle it a lot better than they did 2 years ago. Maybe it was a little bit of arrogance from Australia 2 years ago, and say a lot of people said at the time, even Australian fans said, then England not going to handle Bazball. Well, in the end, it was really quite the opposite. Really, it was Australia that didn't handle it all that well, and
particularly from the third test onwards. Last three tests.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, Australia got lucky with the rain at Old Trafford. Otherwise, it could have been a 3-2 series loss. But the weather intervened, so we don't want to bring that up again with our England listeners. But it rains. But anyway,
we play test in Manchester. What do you expect?
Yeah, of course. It always rains up there, up in the north, Manchester in England, in Lancashire. So anyway, I think this time around they'll be a lot better equipped to handle Bazball, especially on these Australian pitches that do a bit now. We've seen that for the last couple of summers. And also the Kookaburra balls, it doesn't get soft easily anymore. It's still hard for longer, and it does a bit for longer. The seam's pronounced, there's a bit more lacquer on the ball. So, they've got that in their favour as well. And, they're better equipped to handle that. And we saw that last summer against India. When Australia were under pressure last summer against India, even though they won that series 3-1 in the end and were the better side, when India were fighting back, Australia were able to get out of those pressure moments and be able to seize those moments. A prime example of that is in Melbourne, where they, on that last day, were able to get those wickets when they needed to, when the pitch was a bit flat, and obviously Travis Head got rid of Richard Pant with a long hop, and good catch from Mitchell Marsh out there in the deep. And then obviously, I think the wicket of Jaiswal, controversially at the time whether or not he hit it or not, or some people said optical illusion.
That was
when Pat Cummins got him out, that sort of changed the course of the match. So I think Australia are better equipped in terms of handling the pressure moments better than England. You were going to say something there,
No, I was going to say when it got flat with a bit of turn on the last day, Nathan Lyon
Yes.
played a role in that match as well. So I think he you can't ignore Lyon and say, oh, the pitch is going to be green, we don't need him. It's not really going to be like that.
You need a good spinner. And Australia learnt that lesson at Old Trafford, remember? Where we didn't play Todd Murphy. And look what happened. So I don't think they're going to make the same mistake again. And
they didn't play a spinner at all?
I don't think they did.
Yeah.
I think from memory, they didn't play Todd Murphy. They played all quicks.
Yeah.
We didn't have a specialist spinner at all in that test.
I mean, that's just asking for trouble, isn't it?
So I don't think they're going to do that again this time around. I know the conditions, and obviously people said, well, last summer he didn't really have a role to play. But he did have a role to play throughout the series. We saw that in Melbourne, where he got those wickets. He even got the last wicket of Siraj, LBW.
Yeah.
So Nathan Lyon is reliable. You're not going to drop someone who has 500 test wickets next to his name. So he'll be keen to play this first test after missing the last test. And you jog my memory there, Jihan. Of course, he didn't play that last test in Sabina Park against the West Indies, didn't he, in that day-night test? So he'll be eager to play, and no doubt he wants to play. And
I think too much was made of that. I mean, it
wouldn't have made any difference anyway, really, with the way that the pitch was and the West Indies batting.
Yeah, I mean, it was a horses for courses selection. They brought Scott Boland in, he took a hat trick, and West Indies got bowled out for 27. So,
and Mitchell Starc was absolutely in the zone.
Yeah, that's right. I think one of the things I don't know if this is true or not, or whether Nathan Lyon said this, but apparently he was disappointed that he didn't get to play in Stark's 100th test where he took his 400th wicket. But I mean, come on, Lyon. It's about the team. It's not about yourself.
I suppose just being there is good enough anyway.
He was there.
Whether you're on the field or off the field.
Yeah, exactly.
And they would have celebrated after the game anyway. So.
Yeah, and sometimes with these stories, it's kind of like, well, it could have been something made up by the media, but So that Jamaica test that's an anomaly when you look at it. I mean, it was obviously a very fast bowler friendly surface and match, and for that reason, they wanted to play an extra crick, and it paid off in the end. So I don't think we should be reading too much into that. I know he didn't play a lot against in the preceding summer against India, but he still did play a bit of a role. And actually, when you look at it, he outbowled the Indian spinners in that series.
Oh, he did. Yeah, he outperformed Jadeja and
he didn't play a huge role, but he still played a little bit of a role. And I think particularly where you need Lyon is when the wicket gets flat, and you need to rest the fast bowlers, and also on day 5 when you're trying to win the game. That's where you need Lyon.
You need a good quality spinner. Full stop.
Yeah.
And obviously this Ashes series, his overs are going to be more important, along with Green and Webster for the all-round combination there, because of this long series and trying to rest Boland, Stark, Hazelwood, and Pat Cummins when he does eventually return. You need those overs, and part-time from Marnus and Travis Head as well. So Nathan Lyon is definitely going to play a big role, as he always does. He's in the top 3 leading wicket takers for Australian Test cricket, for crying out loud. So he must be doing something right, and he's played over 100 tests. So
for me, he'll play all 5 tests. He should play all. Unless Sydney is like an absolute green top or something like last year, but even then,
I don't think it will be what it was last year against India. I think they overcooked that one. I think it'll be a bit different this time around.
Yeah,
but no, he will definitely play.
I think he definitely should play in Perth, because that's like the venue where he's got the best record.
And the bounce, the bounce that he gets, the extra bounce, like in Brisbane as well. So
similar in Brisbane, day-night test in Brisbane, but it can get pretty flat there with the pink ball. The interesting one for me is going to be Adelaide, because I don't think they've played a day test there for a while. I'm trying to think.
The last one was against the West Indies back in 2022.
Right.
That was the last one, I think, which was a day test in Adelaide. They like to alternate it every year in Adelaide.
Right.
day-night test and then a day test because they just want to change it up. So,
And was that a
but it will
flat
be
track?
interesting. But I think it will be similar to what you'll see with the day-night wicket in Adelaide. A bit more grass on it, and as they do with the pink ball to protect it. But I think the last day test there against the West Indies was back in 2022, and
No, I'm just looking at it now. That test was actually a day-night test, 2022.
was it, or was it no? It was a day test. I'm pretty sure they played a day test in Adelaide when the West Indies were here. I'm pretty sure that was a day test. I think I could be wrong.
I'm looking
but
at
I
the scorecard
think
on
it
Quick
was.
Info and it says day at DN. So,
Because they when they were here, when they won at the Gabba, that was a day-night test. But the tour
when they won at the Gabba,
when
where did they play the first test?
they played in Perth, I think. The 22 series when they were here, because they did back-to-back, didn't they? So the 22 one, they played in Perth, and that's where Smith and Marnus got 200s and part on the runs. The next test was in Adelaide, and that was a day test.
No. I just looked it up. The one you're thinking of was actually last year. It was the 24-25 series.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, so that was a day test.
Well, no, excuse me. Last summer against India was a day test. Day-night test. And when the West Indies were here in 23, 24, they played the day-night test in Brisbane.
Yep. No. So 24. It was 24. First test was in Adelaide, day test, and Australia won by 10 wickets.
Oh yes, Now it's coming back to me. Yes.
Then they went to Brisbane and they won.
Yes,
that one,
that's right. Sorry.
So last. So that actually wasn't that long ago. That was January 24. So that's
you're right.
2 years ago.
I thought that was the case because that confused me a bit there because they came back in back-to-back years, the West Indies.
Yeah, no, that's right. No,
so the one in 22 was a day-night test in Adelaide. Yes, it was, correct.
That's right.
And when they came back in 20...
getting some wickets towards the end of that.
Yeah.
And then when they won
at the Gabba,
I'm just looking at this
day-night test.
That's right, yeah. I'm just looking at the scorecard from the day test, Adelaide, the first one, last year or 2 years ago. And Hazel got 4, Cummins got 4, Stark got 1, bowled them out for 188. And Australia only got 280, and that was because Travis Head got 120. And Shimar Joseph got 5 wickets in that.
Yes, he did.
And then West Indies got bowled out for 120, Hazelwood 5 wickets, and then Australia only had to chase 26 to win in the 4th innings. But so it looks like there's still something in there for the fast bowlers, even if it's a day test in Adelaide.
Yeah. There's always something in there. Yeah. Irrespective of day-night or day test. So it's pretty much the same, really. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays come that 3rd test of the series. But yes, if people were listening, me and Jihan trying to rack our brains over, was that a day-night test or not? No, you're right. It was. So when they came in 23, 24, because South Africa came out as well that summer.
Yeah.
The day-night test was in Brisbane, and then obviously the previous tour in 22 was a day-night test in Adelaide, and then when the West Indies came for their 2nd tour in a row, it was the day test in Adelaide. That's right. So
that's right.
Glad that we cleared that up.
I wanted to have a look at it to see what pitch is going to behave.
Yeah,
whether it's a day-night or night or a day test. But the point is, in Adelaide they actually haven't played. I think they've only played 1 day test in the last 10 years or something, probably.
Yes. Yep. I think it was when the West Indies were here for their 2nd tour. I think that was the first one in a while. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And this year for the Ashes, not a day-night test. That's in Brisbane, I suppose, because of Brisbane's, not going to be here after the Olympics in 2030. So they wanted to send it off in style for its last Ashes test, I suppose. And obviously Adelaide likes to alternate between day tests and day-night tests. Purely because they want to change it up and make it convenient for people, I suppose.
Yeah.
Irrespective, the pitch still plays similar, as we've already discussed. If it's a pink ball or red ball. So it'd be interesting to see.
Because they've left a lot of extra grass on the pitch since the pink ball test came in, I think.
Yeah,
if I'm right.
Yeah, they have. They've added a few mils of grass on the pitch there in Adelaide.
Because back in the day, it used to be so flat.
Yes, it used to be served flat back in the day, and then obviously spin would come into it towards the end of the test. Not so much anymore, but there's a bit of something in there, as we've seen in all the pitches around Australia in the last couple of years.
I remember one test match. I think it was maybe 2012 against South Africa, where Australia scored like 470 on day one or something. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And David Warner got 100 like before lunch.
Yeah.
They were playing baseball 13 years ago in that one test match.
They were. And then obviously Faf du Plessis held on his debut test, which it was.
That's right, yeah.
And they drew the match, and then they went on to win the series in Perth after Brisbane was drawn as well. Yes. And obviously Ricky Ponting retired in Perth that summer.
So, that's right,
Yeah. It's not the case anymore in Adelaide. It's not as flat as it used to be, but it did host one of the best test matches we've seen in Ashes cricket, obviously, and those in Adelaide back in 2006-07. And that was flat. And Australia were able to win that test in the way they did. And everyone knows how that test match went, really. So after Peterson and Collingwood scored some big hundreds and double tons, and then Australia scored a few hundreds in their innings, and obviously Warney did what he did, and then Hussey hit in the winning runs. Famous test match where Australia had no chance of winning, or no one really believed that anyone could win, but they did, and they went on to win 5-0, as they did in 2006-07 after losing the urn in 2005 in an amazing series, which is 20 years this year. Jeez, it's a long time, isn't it, Jihan? It was just like yesterday.
I know. I was 17 at the time. Yeah, when that happened, and it was just for me. It was sort of like I couldn't believe Australia lost to England.
Yes, no, that's true. Just you don't expect Australia to lose an Ashes series, but I suppose it was a good thing for the Ashes at the time that England won a series after so long. Which they did under Michael Vaughan. So, Jihan, before we wrap up about Australia, got to talk about the key batters and bowlers. I'll start off. With the batting side of things, I think Smith definitely going to have a big role to play. He looks in good touch coming into this series. You got Travis Head, who had a good series 4 years ago. I think he's going to do that again. Marnus, who's in good touch with those centuries this summer. I think those three are going to be the main ones that Australia would definitely hope for in this series in terms of productivity with the bat. And then obviously you have the others that will chip in, like Khawaja and Weatherald and Alex Carey and Cameron Green or Bo Webster if they play and do their job. So I think those three, Smith, Labuschagne and Head, are going to be the key there. The bowling side of things, I think everyone's going to be the key. Obviously, Scott, Boland, Josh Hazlewood, Mitchell Starc, Nathan Lyon, even Pat Cummins when he returns. They're all going to be the keys for Australia anyway. And obviously, Green and Webster for their overs in terms of, giving the other bowlers a rest with their all-round capabilities there. So those are my key batters and bowlers for Australia. Jihan, what are yours in terms of the batters and bowlers for Australia?
Yeah, pretty similar. So I think the engine room is going to be, in the batting, is going to be Labuschagne, Smith, Head, 3, 4, 5. It'll be nice if Cameron Green's able to get some runs at number 6. He's in good form at the moment. I think Carey is going to probably play a vital role with the bat as well. He scored a lot of key vital runs in the last couple of years, since the Johnny Bairstow incident.
Yes.
So he's definitely increased in confidence. And then from the bowling side, I think Hazelwood, he looked so good in the white ball series against India. Stark bowled pretty well in the that ODI in Perth. So those two with the new ball, Lions always going to be decent. And then I suppose first Test match, Scott Boland. He's going to be key as well. The question is going to be whether England are going to be able to take the attack to him or not. I think with Scott Boland, if he's able to bowl a decent bouncer, if he can bring that into his armoury, then that probably can try and nullify a little bit of the that sort of England sort of attack mindset towards going after him.
But he didn't really do that much against India, really. He didn't bowl a short ball to India last summer, I don't think. Scott Boland.
Yeah. So I don't.
It was always like in the wicket, just a little bit, and he was able to extract that and be successful, especially to Virat Kohli. Got him out for fun in that series. So,
so I don't think that's like something that he bowls a lot. But I mean, if he could develop that, he definitely can. He just needs to practice it a little bit, I suppose. But and then use it when England are walking, like when Zach Crawley or whoever walking down the wicket towards him.
Or you could have Alex Carey up to the stumps. He's been up to the stumps to Scott Boland on a few occasions. That could be a tactic.
Yeah, that
keep
as
the
well.
England batters in their crease.
Although, having said that, that's going to be difficult on the cricket pitches. That's going to be a lot easier to do in Sydney, Adelaide, MCG probably. But yeah, I think if he can just because he's always going to be able to bowl that consistent line and length and challenge the bat. But I think what England are probably going to try and do is if he's just sort of bowling that consistent line and length, ball after ball, they're going to use their feet. They're going to give themselves room to try. They're going to try and play him as if it's an ODI or T20. And he's going to have to come up with a way of tackling that. I think so it's going to be it's going to be about Hazelwood and Stark once Cummins gets back in the side. The three of them, it's those three are the main threats in terms of fast bowling against England.
Yeah, definitely, and I think everyone would agree with that, Jihan. So that's pretty much our thoughts on Australia in terms of the squad that they've selected for this first test, and also the key players throughout this series as well, with both bat and ball, and how they're going to approach this Ashes series. No doubt they've got all bases covered. It's just about whether or not the top order can click in terms of Khawaja and potentially Jake Weatherald as his new opening partner, can set the foundation for Smith and Labuschagne and Head and Carey to follow, and also Green or Webster if they play. So that's going to be important. Also seeing off England's bowlers, especially Jofra Archer, in terms of his pace. If they can see him off in his initial spell and make the England bowlers come back and bowl more, then I think they're in with a good chance. And obviously their bowling attack is class, and we know what to expect from them. And they should be able to take 20 wickets, no problems, especially what we've seen of the Australian wickets over the last couple of summers. It's definitely going to be hard work for the England batters if the Australian bowlers get it right. So Australia looking good, and obviously they start as favourites to win this series, of course, given that they've won the last few series against England in Australia. So we shall see how Australia perform. Hi, everyone. If you're watching or listening to this episode of the Dibbly-Dobbly podcast on our YouTube channel, let us know in the comments your thoughts on how Australia will go in the 2025-2026 Ashes series.